What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country and around the world that you need to know about here on a daily basis. If you haven't subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. Right now, it's completely free to do so. I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here with your money, with the stock market, with inflation, with the economy. It's all crazy right now. And the war in Ukraine and Russia could be going on a lot longer than expected, or it could be coming to an end maybe quicker than expected. Check this out. Yeah, Russian President Vladimir Putin threatens Ukraine to come to their terms and basically surrender. He says, or else the worst is yet to come. Yeah, let me know your thoughts here on this. He says he warned Kyiv that it should quickly accept Moscow's terms or brace for the worst, adding ominously that Russia has barely started its action. Yeah, speaking at a meeting with leaders of the Kremlin-controlled parliament, Putin accused Western allies of fueling the hostilities, charging that the West, quote, wants to fight us until the last Ukrainian. Putin added, quote, it's a tragedy for the Ukrainian people, but it looks like it's heading in that direction. Putin says, quote, everybody should know that largely speaking, we haven't even yet started anything in earnest, Putin said in a menacing note. Yeah, here is what Putin had to say. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments.
Сегодня мы слышим, что нас хотят победить на поле боя. Ну, что здесь скажешь? Пусть попробуют. Мы уже много слышали, что Запад хочет воевать с нами до последнего украинца. Это трагедия для украинского народа. Но, похоже, все к этому и идет. Но все должны знать, что мы-то, по большому счету, всерьез пока еще ничего и не начинали. При этом мы не отказываемся и от мирных переговоров, но те, кто отказывается, должны знать, что чем дальше, тем сложнее им будет с нами договариваться.
And Russia goes on to say that the West risks the wrath of God if it punishes Moscow over the war. But many people think that Ukrainian President Zelensky is unlikely to come to terms with Putin, who might want to have land from Ukraine. Zelensky does not want to give up land from Ukraine. And there's multiple different sets of terms that Zelensky just does not want to give up. So the question is, how does this war end? And how long does it go on? And also, just here within the last 24 hours or so, women's NBA star Brittany Grenier pleads guilty to drug charges in Russian court. She could face up to 10 years in prison. Many people say that she had what should have been a minor offense, and that Russia is making an example out of her, as Russia and U.S. relations have just grown. They've just fallen apart almost completely here since the Ukraine war has started. That Russia is making an example out of her. She basically had a cartridge, a vape cartridge that had CBD slash marijuana in it, and now she could potentially be in prison for up to 10 years in Russia and might not ever come back. Yeah. She said in Russia, I'd like to plead guilty, Your Honor, but there was no intent. I didn't want to break the law, noting that it was a mistake because she packed for her Russia trip in a hurry. I'd like to give my testimony later. I need time to prepare. She brought 2 cartridges for personal use, which contained 0.25 grams and 0.45 grams of hash oil. said the prosecutor in court last week. Meanwhile, Putin is threatening poor countries with starvation as the quote next stage in his ruthless Ukraine war, experts warn, as the blockade on food and supplies out of the breadbasket of the world continues, and millions of tons of grain and other food cannot come out of Ukraine. Yeah, you can see here, experts say that Putin is willing to starve poorer countries to create a crisis that paves the way for Russia's victory in Ukraine, and that it is exacerbating a global food crisis. And experts say this is part of a deliberate effort by the Kremlin to stoke famine and the Western coalition pressure the Western coalition that's supporting Ukraine's government, an effort the EU has decried as a war crime. Quote, Russia has a hunger plan. Putin is preparing to starve much of the developing world as the next stage in his war in Europe, says Timothy Snyder, a Yale historian and expert on authoritarianism, planning to starve Asians and Africans in order to win its war in Europe. Meanwhile, the U.S. is planning to send its 15th military package to Ukraine, bringing the total aid in Russia's war to $7 billion. Biden is set to announce a new security assistance package worth $400 million to Ukraine on Friday. The latest aid package is the 15th military package and brings the U.S. commitment to more than $7 billion since Russia's late February invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, so think about this. If it's been $7 billion just since February, think about if this war goes on for till the end of this year, how many more billions of dollars it might cost American taxpayers, the rest of the world. Think about the inflation costs. Think about the higher gas price costs, the higher food price costs. Think about costs around the world. Think about the lives. Think about the cost of lives of both Ukrainians and Russians. Think about the sanctions going on all around. Think about everything going on here the longer this goes on. Think about what the US has spent here alone, and think about how long this war could go on. Think about if this war goes on for months. Think about if this war goes on for years. Because at this point, we have the Ukrainian people who don't want to give up, and we have Putin who is hell bent on not giving up for anything. He says, we're just getting started, and you haven't seen anything yet if you don't surrender. Yeah. Now, remember, he was already unsuccessful at taking their capital city, really didn't even get into the capital city. So you got to kind of think here that, I mean, how does this end? How does, how do, it's really a tough decision here because, Ukraine doesn't want to, at least the president and, a lot of the people there don't want to surrender. They also don't want to continue to be bombarded by bombs and missiles here on a daily basis. So it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation. What do you do? What do you do? And meanwhile, the total cost here of rebuilding Ukraine is already estimated to be over $1 trillion. And uh, Zelensky says that he wants the money to come from Russia. So some of these yachts that have been seized that are worth over $1 billion, some of them, he wants those to be auctioned off and the money to go to Ukraine to be given to them. So yeah, well, maybe not quite $1 billion, but hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So He wants assets from Russia to go to Ukraine, what they can get, right? But Russia says, hey, if you mess with us, the wrath is going to come down on you. Um, yeah, so I mean, there's a fine line here. There's a fine line of walking the line towards World War III, and Putin has basically threatened the whole world, the U.S., the U.K., and the EU, pretty much all of Europe, with nukes and World War III. So now, don't get me wrong. I mean, he'd be very outmatched going against the rest of the world with World War III, except for the nukes. Except for the nukes, because I mean, he has nukes. The rest of the world has nukes as well, but nobody wants a nuclear exchange. Nobody wins there. Nobody is winning this war as well. There's just no winners here. Um, who's winning the war? Nobody. Nobody's winning the war. There's no winners here. I mean, Ukraine's losing thousands of lives. Russia's losing thousands of lives. Ukraine's has $1 trillion in losses here in their country. Uh, Rebuilding is going to take years, years. I mean, what's the good that comes out of this? And really, uh, Russia's getting cut off from a lot of the rest of the world. Think about the companies that have pulled out of there. Think of all the countries that don't want to do business with Russia now. Think of all the countries that are saying they're think about several countries have already stopped buying oil from Russia, the United States, and several countries in the European Union. And the European Union wants to stop buying oil completely here by the end of the year or part into next year. So there's a lot of countries that are basically saying we don't want to buy oil from you or anything from you going forward because of what you've done. So, this the economic turmoil here is, Putin might not come out a winner here either way, even if he does win. So it's really it's a tough, but going into this, Putin probably didn't expect this. He probably thought he would just, have a similar situation to Crimea. He'd go in there, they'd probably lay down their arms, see that the Russian army's bigger, and he would take back part of old Russia. Who would have known that Ukraine would give such a fight here, and here we'd be months and months into it, and this would be it. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Meanwhile, this is affecting the whole world. This is affecting the whole world, and we at any given time we could be on the brink of war. We're on the brink of World War III. Who knows where we could be a month from now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. You can click here to see the presidential executive order that Biden just signed that is going to affect millions of lives here in the future, or actually starting now. It's really big. Or you can click here to see a potential $2,400 raise to Social Security benefits that has an actual bill in Congress. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.